Welcome back. So the National Prosecuting Authority has reportedly told families of the Life Esidimeni victims that they're considering taking legal action against those implicated in the saga. Over 140 mentally ill patients died back in 2016 when they were moved to under-resourced and ill-equipped non-governmental organizations as part of cost-cutting measures by the Gauteng Health Department. Life Esidimeni Family Committee member Nxumalo joins us for more on the recent meeting. Ms. Nxumalo, thank you so much for joining us. A good evening to you. That meeting taking place on the 18th of August with the National Prosecuting Authority. I think key points on what you've heard from the NPA, and if you're satisfied, as part of it, steps being taken to prosecute two officials for the deaths of two victims. So highlights and really what you make of those revelations.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. As families, we are not satisfied. Yes, we are edging towards prosecution, which is good. But how did we get to two? I think is the question that families are asking. I mean, from 144 to two, and yet all of them died in a similar manner, you know, starvation, dehydration, etc., etc. So I think for us, the question is, how did we get to two?
Of course, just to update our viewers, for those that are still catching up with this, at that particular meeting, these families were told that the recommendation has been for former Gauteng MEC for Health, apologies, Qadani Mahlangu, and former Director of Mental Health, Dr. Makabo Manamela, to be prosecuted for just the deaths of two victims out of 144 mental health care users who lost their lives. The argument, though, that you were given as part of why they would pursue prosecution of these two officials for just two lives, what was it that you were told?
Well, we were told that they could only link, or basically of the nine. Remember, they were looking at the nine coming from the inquest, with the ruling from Judge Steffo, is that my sister and Clarence Chaba were healthy when they left Life Esidimeni, and the manner in which they died. So they were able to link, how they died, to the two. And that was the reason we gave. And when we asked about the other cases, they had told us that they had not looked at the other cases. So, and I think that's where we were saying as families, we can't be satisfied with just two. Surely there must be more.
What do you hear then from the other 142 families? So just as an immediate response to what you hear from the NPA, perhaps some utterances that you would have heard from one or two of those families. Just I'm looking for their views when they realize that their own family member is not going to be receiving the justice that they would like to see.
I mean, just in the meeting, they were angry. They couldn't understand. Remember how long we've struggled to get the NPA to even do an inquest for us. So they've always believed that the NPA didn't really want to prosecute. So when they came back and said they can only find causal link for two, to them it was like, but we should have seen this coming from a long time ago, that you were never interested in finding, reasons to prosecute. They were very angry. They're very angry. They're not very satisfied. And that's why we are saying, look, suppose I'm one of the lucky ones whose loved one is mentioned or is being prosecuted for, but I'm not satisfied because that was not the plan. We were expecting at least the feedback that says from 144, 10 of these we couldn't find because, of whatever reasons. 30, we found X, Y, and Z, and we definitely cannot find the link there. A breakdown of how they got to the two.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were given a flat out, there's two that they can, they can find the link, the causal link. And that was, the reason they gave.
How much of this do you believe comes from, I suppose, really the root of the investigations, right? So the question around the fact that you've got this technicality that says only 2 deaths can be used in prosecution of these officials. Does that in any way take from the confidence that you have in the work of investigating officers that looked at this matter from 2016?
Be honest with you, Naledi, for us, you know, I think this is probably one of the few times where you're going to hear that we don't actually think that the SAPS is at fault. We worked with them from the onset. We were the ones who were connecting them to families. They were diligent in the manner in which they investigated. I mean, the ADR with being chaired by Moseneke, the former Chief Justice Moseneke, would not have happened without these guys having put the work into this. And we would not have had an inquest had the SAPS not done their work. So unfortunately, to say that the SAPS did not do their work this time, I have to say we don't agree with that notion to say that the work was not done. The body of evidence was there. Section 27 was there all along, all the way. And they can guarantee that the evidence is there. I mean, even even the judge said, Judge Defo said, there's prima facie case to prosecute. It is now for the NPA to do their work.
And that work is now what I want to hear from you. If you believe in your heart of hearts that the National Prosecuting Authority will be successful in the prosecution of Qedani Mahlangu, former Health MEC and former Director of Mental Health, Dr. Makgabo Manamela, in their pursuance of their prosecution for these 2 deaths, do you believe that the NPA will be successful in that endeavor?
Let me tell you something. If the NPA really wanted to, and if the NPA really wants to, they can prosecute and they can be successful. But the question is, do they want to, is what we are asking.
So the demands of the family committee, what would you like to see next?
I'd like for them to take responsibility and say, you know what, we never took this matter as seriously as we should have. Because we asked as far back as 2015 for an inquest. Had they taken that seriously back then, we wouldn't be where we are now. And unfortunately, the lead prosecutor at the time who was handling this matter never wanted to prosecute. He never believed that the information from the ADR was sufficient, nor did he want to have the inquest, which we had to force to have. So you can see that the NPA in this matter never really wanted to prosecute, and we are not surprised that we are here. But if they want to, and they really want to hold somebody accountable, the NPA can. So they need to answer the question, do they really want to? Do they think it's worth actually doing their work and actually prosecuting? Because that's what we want. And we know they can if they just put their mind to it.
Christine Nxumalo, thank you so much for your time. Of course, she is with the Life Esidimeni Family Committee.